Hello YouTube Reseller Mom here. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be another one of those Amazon FBA little videos that I'm doing about very particular topics, and I'm trying to dive in as much as I can. They're not super long videos, but they are to go over the gist of the topic. And today's topic is expiration dates. Today is January 30th, 2021. I always give you guys kind of the date of when I'm filming because sometimes things change or update, and so information may not be applicable if there is a change in the system. But I'm trying to go through and do a bunch of these little videos on very particular topics that I see a ton of questions about, and I tend to see a lot of the same questions over and over and over again in Facebook groups, and one that keeps popping up is, what is the expiration date? What do you have to put on for the expiration date when you're doing Amazon FBA items? So we're going to go over that today. Thank you for joining me, and as always, if you like these videos, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them down below. But let's dive right in. We're going to go through what Amazon's policies are, what are expiration dates, how to find them, etc. The first thing we need to go through is what Amazon says, and I'm not going to read everything on here by any means. What you need to know, though, is if you Google Amazon FBA expiration dates, you're going to come up to this web page, and I basically just copied and pasted the three main things that they go over into this presentation for you guys, but I always just go to the source itself. And I'm not going to like copy this and reference it because in 3 months they may change something. So I always want to go to the source, go to the source itself to see what the recommendations are and what you need to put on there. But they clearly go over what the definition is and the requirements and everything like that. This is a period after opening. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. We're going to go through quite a few things, including expiration date, best by date, and period after opening, and what to do if you can't find any of this. That's kind of a lot of things that you'll buy and sell on Amazon are pretty clear. You know, if you go to the grocery store and you buy a box of cereal, it's going to clearly state on there when it expires, and that's pretty easy. But the problem that most Amazon people come into are when it's not cut and dry, it's in the gray area. Maybe Amazon is asking you for an expiration date, but you don't see any expiration date on your product. Or maybe they're not asking for an expiration date. Do you need to put one on? How do you tell if they need an expiration date on there? So let's go through that one first. First up, if you think it needs an expiration date, you need an expiration date. I pretty much just put an expiration date on anything that has an expiration date, because if they don't want it now, they may want it later. And it's nothing like having your inventory stuck at Amazon needing an expiration date and you don't have it, and you have to recall it and get it labeled and whatnot. So it's always better just to put an expiration date on than not. The problem with Inventory Lab is it may not be flagged as an expiration date, but when you go to do your shipment, it will then get flagged, and you'll get a big red, like a big red warning that says, you know, this item needs an expiration date. And if you've already packed up that box, then you need to unload that box, find the item, get the expiration date on, and then repack everything up, which is kind of a pain in the butt. And I haven't found a very good way to tell on the front end prior to doing that if it needs one or not. I'm sure they're going to work on that because I can't be the only one with that problem. So this is the first page of expiration date from Amazon FBA, their website on what you should be doing. This is another little, let's see here. This is the next little chunk that I grabbed for you guys that goes over shelf life and what you should expect. Unless if you're a manufacturer, you don't really need to know this. The only thing I want you guys to know is that nothing is really under 90 days. So if you're out there sourcing, and let's see here, it's the end of January, it's January 30th, so I would not get anything. I'd go 3 months out, so February, March, April, which means basically anything within those 3 months, I am not going to get. I'm looking for May and beyond. Some people will even go 6 months out because you need to get that item shipped in and have time to actually sell it. So I wouldn't want to get anything that was, May, let's just say May 5th right now, because it wouldn't have enough time to sit there and really get sold. And if your customer gets something and only has a few weeks to use it, they are not they are going to be inclined to leave you negative feedback and or complain about it or want a refund, etc. So you want to keep that in mind. So if I'm out shopping today, if you go out 6 months from now, what is that, like July? So I'd be looking for July and beyond, just to make sure I have enough time to get that item in and get it sold and have plenty of time for the customer to actually use it. Then we have how to label the products, which, Amazon makes everything they say it's really easy to read and everything, but I tell you, I've read through a lot of their things, and it's as clear as mud some days. It goes through all ingestible products need to be labeled, baby formula needs to be labeled, baby food. You can read through this yourself, but basically it says anything that has an expiration date on it, they want to know it at Amazon. What kind of happens, and why I say you should probably just put it on there, is somebody may go and create a listing, right? Like I'm looking at Easter candy right now. So there's a new Easter candy that I'm getting on, and it's a very new listing, etc. Or let's say graduation gifts for 2021 in the food realm. Well, they may create a listing, and it may take Amazon a little while to catch on that, hey, this is a food item. Oh, mayday, it needs an expiration date. So I may have been able to create the listing and send in the product without that expiration date, but then 2 weeks later, they're like, want, you need an expiration date. And you can't just tell them, oh yeah, go put this date on there. They're not going to do that for you. And that's where you'd have to recall the product and get it sent back, then label it, and then resend it. And by that time, the item's gone through shipping 2 or 3 times and handling, and it may not, you're going to lose money. So that's why I say if it has a date, put a date on there. Easier than not. All right, let's go through the three ways you can find an expiration date. There might be 4. I can't remember. First up is if it clearly states there's an expiration date. And I just pulled these images from the web to do this slideshow. So this one says expiration date 04/09/17. Pretty easy to read. If it's American. Now, if you're sourcing goods from outside the U.S., they could have a different date code way of dating things. I know European, pretty much everybody but the United States. The United States is so special. I mean, we love our rulers and our American numbers and American way of dating. But if you are sourcing outside, like sometimes I'll source some Japanese candies, so the date code could be different. But I'm going to just try and stick with American for you guys here. This is a typical, in the U.S., if you go source, I don't know, Walmart, Target, Safeway, food items, this is pretty typical. You're going to have the expiration like that. That's the easiest one. That's the easiest. No-brainer. You know clearly when it expires. If you are doing multiples, let's say, I can't tell what this is. It looks like a can of soda or something. We'll say it's a can of soda, and you're going to create a listing with 3 cans of soda in it. And you're going to put those 3 cans of soda in a poly bag and ship them into Amazon. Now, you would never do that because that'd be kind of a silly way to pack it. But for purposes of this hypothetical situation, we're going to put 3 items in a bag and send it off. Say they have 3 different expiration dates. You're going to put the one that expires the soonest. So when the customer gets it, they see that, oh, okay, I need to use this one by 4/9/17, and let's say there was 4/11 and 4/13. You're going to put the one that's going to expire first on the outside of that multi-pack. This happens a lot with candies, beauty items, health items. A lot of times you'll get cases in, or you'll get a bunch of items, and there'll be multiple expiration dates. And you're going to put, multiples in poly bags. Now, what you cannot do, you can only have 1 expiration date per shipment right now with Amazon. So let's say I had a bunch of cans of soda that were 4/9/17, and then I have another 12 pack that were 12 of 17, you would have to put them in different shipments. And that's just something you need to know and you need to do. It sucks, but that's the way it has to be. I have had other people state in Facebook pages that, let's say they had 12 of the 4917 and 12 of the 41017, they would just put 4917 on the shipment information and on any outside packaging and ship it all in together. Now, you may have a scenario that would work for you. I don't do it that way. I separate it out, and I do enough shipments per week that it's fine if a couple goods go into a different shipment. I am constantly breaking up expiration dates into different shipments, and I will send in the one that's coming up soonest in whatever I'm working on. That's how I do it. But I do have several things, like I do a bunch of cake mixes. We'll just say cake mixes with frosting. That's a big one that people bundle up all the time, especially for the holidays, like right now, Valentine's Day. Let's say you had some funfetti cake mix with some frosting, and they have 2 different dates. You're going to go with the one that's the soonest on your outer package. All right, let's get into some more complicated stuff. Best by date. And this is eggs. Obviously, you wouldn't send in eggs to Amazon FBA. It'd be kind of funny, but this says best by August 1st of 19. Now, what's the difference between the expiration date and the best by date? Best by date kind of means, and let's see here, I have a big food background. So best by date is when they say you should eat something by for quality reasons. We'll say these eggs or some crackers. If you use these eggs on August 2nd of 2019, they might not be good. They may taste a little off, but it's not the end of the world. On expiration date items, there could be some significant problems if you use them past the expiration date, and some big health concerns. There could be a breakdown in the product, or they could be something that could have enough bacteria in it growing that could really harm you. Now, that's the generalist of it. For Amazon, it's the same thing. They don't care. Best by date equates to expiration date for Amazon FBA. It's the same thing, but just giving you a little bit of food history. If you're cleaning out your cupboards and say you're looking at a box of crackers and it says best by, if you eat them past date, they may be a little stale, but they ain't gonna kill you. If you're looking at a can of tuna that expired 3 months ago, you throw that in the trash. That's my take on it. All right. Next up that you may encounter is, oh, this is a terrible picture, apologies, but I hope you can see it, is a manufacturer lot code. Now, a lot code, that's what we're going to spend a lot of the time talking about, is made up of several numbers at, well, this one's on the bottom. Sometimes they're on the top, sometimes they're on the side, but it's going to have a garbly-gook thing of numbers. This one says, since it's such a terrible picture, 6221 T1R2. This is a Bath & Body Works lot code setup, and the 6221 is the manufacturer date. The 6 refers to 2016, and 221 refers to the date of the year, the Julian date of the year. And then the rest of it is going to refer to some sort of batch makeup of when they were making that lotion in the plant. Maybe, you know, T is for Tuesday, the first batch. You know, I don't know what the rest of the numbers are, but that is what it means for Bath & Body Works. And this is something that you're not going to know right off the bat, but when you find these lot codes on your product, you should be able to Google the manufacturer, and something like I just did, Bath & Body Works lot code, and this came up. So, you know, a lot of the big manufacturers, you're going to be able to tell what that is, and then you go to the manufacturer's website and you figure out how to read their lot code and what the expiration date is going to be off of that. Bath & Body Works I'm really familiar with. The Julian date, just type into Google the Julian date and then the year you want. So this would be for 2016. So I would type in Julian calendar for 2016. Right now I have the 2020 Julian calendar pulled up because that's what I've been pulling for my Bath & Body Works this year. Everything has been made in 2020. On their website, they say the expiration date is 2 years past the date that it was manufactured or the date it was produced. Those are, again, interchangeable words: manufacture date, production date. And then when I'm going through here, let's say I was doing this one for FBA, instead of, I don't know what the 221st day of the year, but let's say it was May 5th of 2016, you would then put May 5th of 2018. So you add 2 years on it. Now, Bath & Body Works does say that their products are probably okay for 3 years, but they guarantee 2. So I put the 2 years on there. I probably could get away with doing 3 years. And honestly, I have a lot of Bath & Body Works in my cabinets that are well over 2 or 3 years that still work. But from a customer standpoint, if they got some lotion and it smelled bad or off or whatnot, they could get upset, and you don't want to send in old stuff for sure. All right, that's Bath & Body Works, but there are a lot of other manufacturers out there that have a variation of these lot codes that you're going to have to decipher, and we'll talk about that again in a second here, but you'll have to decipher it for each manufacturer. This is a PAO. You'll see this in the, oops, went too far, clicked. You'll see it referred to a lot on the Amazon boards if you're asking questions about expiration dates, etc. But this is a very common case with a lot of health and beauty items. They will just put a period after opening. It means once you crack the seal, this product is good for 12 months. So you could see 18 months, you could see 1 year, 3 years. Those are kind of the common ones, are 6, 12, 24 months, and then I don't know, 1 to 3 years is usually the ones I see for this little jar. I will see these a lot on mascaras, eyeliners, lotions, soaps, things like that. For Amazon, this is where it's tricky. So if it's 12 months after opening, I'm not opening it. I don't know when my customer's going to open it. So when should I put the expiration date for this item? That is a good question. For me, if I know that this product is going to go in the mail, let's just see, in 3 days' time, so the 2nd of February 2021, I would just put 1 more year on that and put the 2nd of February 2022. That's how I do it. I have heard other people that do 18 months from whatever day they're shipping it. Some do 2 years after the date of their shipping it. I'm comfortable with 1 year. Any health and beauty item, I want to flip within 1 year. So, you know, I don't want to keep my health and beauty items sitting around, especially stuff that is going to expire. So that's how I do it. The other thing that is really important is if it says after opening, you want to make sure it's not opened at all. Any sort of health and beauty item that has these types of dates on there, the reason they have them on there is because once it gets opened and it's now been in contact with the air and everything that's in the air, including bacteria, then that's how long it really is good for. So the bacteria gets in there and it takes a while to grow and whatnot, but you know, you don't want to have anything that's been cracked open. And I've had beauty items delivered to me from both wholesalers, from online arbitrage, from retail arbitrage that I've opened, and the seals have been broken. So you don't want to send anything in ever to Amazon with any sort of seal broken whatsoever. So there are some websites you can go to help you out. This is a cosmetic one that I've gone to a few times, and it's called checkcosmetic.net, and it's a cosmetic calculator. You can put the brand in there, you can enter the code, and it could tell you what the lot code is going to equate to for that brand. So it's a handy thing to have, you know, bookmarked somewhere in your Amazon folder, so that if you do come across some sort of cosmetic and you're trying to figure out what expiration date to put on it, I've referenced this one before a couple of times. If you know the brand name, this is how I Google it. Chapstick, expiry date, or you can type in expiration date, same thing's going to come up. You can see here that this is pulled from the FAQ section of chapstick. You want it to be from the brand name. You don't want it to be Susie's blog on chapstick, because who knows if she's writing the correct stuff. She probably is, but you want it to be from, again, the horse's mouth here. So you go to the chapstick site and it will say, you know, something like this: what is the shelf life of chapstick? Products without an expiration date do not expire. Also, let's see here. We recommend 1 year after opening. There's some other stuff for chapstick. I have chapstick that are probably older than my children, but regardless, chapstick says they don't have an expiration date. Amazon wants an expiration date for chapstick, so that's where I come into kind of my year rule from when I'm shipping it in. That's how I do it. Sometimes you have to put a date down and there's not a really good hard date, and you have to do something with the best with the knowledge that you have, knowing that there's no true expiration date for some of the chapsticks, etc. And your customers are going to be okay. I don't think any customer is going to get a tube of sealed fresh chapstick and worry about the expiration date. You got to use some common sense in this game too. Wish Amazon would, but Amazon doesn't have as much common sense as others, but it's their sandbox, so we have to play by their rules. Burt's Bees is another one that has their expiration date code on their website and how to decipher it. So I've sold several Burt's Bees items too, and you get the package and it clearly states after October we are going to do this standard format here. So they've got the 2 letters in the beginning represent the location of the manufacturer, then it's the year that it was manufactured, then it's the Julian date, and then there's a batch number. So that's how you would decipher Burt's Bees. But my point is go to the website of the item you're selling, find out what that lot code is, decipher it on your product, and then get it sold. One thing that I have ran into with retail arbitrage items is sometimes those stores, TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshalls, etc., get their items so late in the game that they are going to be expired. I had this happen with one. Let's see here if I can remember. It was Physicians Formula. If you go to the Physicians Formula website, they say that it's on the box. There's going to be a manufacturer year, and it's going to be, like 2 years from whatever's printed on the box or something. Anyhow, I got stuff that was already expired, so I went ahead and returned them to TJ Maxx. That's all right. I was going to say I do a lot of suntan lotions. Suntan lotions may have it printed on, or it may have a lot code like this as well. Trying to think of all my retail arbitrage experiences. I do like to get things that are sealed. If I ever get beauty items at the retail arbitrage stores, things that are sealed, that I can tell that they're sealed, and I do try to look for the expiration date code on them, just to see, make sure you're not buying expired stuff. You should do that if you're buying it for yourself too, though. Alright, this one's a little tricky. For lot codes that involve the month as a 2-part letter, but I just type in lot code month letters. I can't remember what product I had this on, but it was recently I had to do this, so I went ahead and grabbed this for you guys. But sometimes lot codes have the month is labeled by a letter, so like in this example, June is F. So you may run into that too. Don't be alarmed if that happens to you. Those lot codes can have all sorts of meanings and information embedded into them, and you just have to learn how to decipher it. So I've run into this very, very rarely. This is probably the rarest cases, and like I said, I've only run into it a couple of times. One was recently though, so I thought I'd mention it in this video. Alright, how to label your actual expiration dates. You can, if you're still using like 30 up labels or some other printing label, you can print out a label and put the expiration date on that label, but the easier way is to use your FBA label with Inventory Lab, and you just click in your settings. So you're going to go to your your settings, go to printing, and go include expiration date on. This is what it's going to look like. You've got your little FS and KU here, the description, which it does kill up the description line a little bit. So if you're doing a bunch that all are the same, like my Bath and Body Works, it just says Bath and Body Works, Bath and Body Works. So I have to make sure my labels are kept. If I'm doing a bunch of Bath and Body Works, keep them lined up appropriately, and then best by the date right here. And this again usually goes on the outside of the package because most of my health, beauty, grocery items are going to get a poly bag. Very few items will will this label go right onto the product. But there you go. It's right there. You don't have to do anything else with it. But if you're doing a different type of label or whatnot, you can totally print out the expiration date on an FBA label or whatever other label set you are using. You may have to Google that if you're using something besides what I'm using right here and you don't know how to print out a label with an expiration date. I used to print them out separately, and I think my template just said expiration date and then it was in this date format. You'll want to go back to those rules on how Amazon wants them to be done, which were, let's see, we can roll back up real quick. They must be clearly labeled using this format. Acceptable formats here. So if you have a medical device, you want to use that format. If you want to use a different format, you've got some options here. But whatever Amazon says is okay to use, that's what you kind of want to do, right? You want to play by the rules. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I like talking about these types of topics and everything, and definitely answering any questions you guys have. And I hope this cleared up some things for you, especially if you're just starting with Amazon FBA, kind of how to find these dates and where to look for them, and a good direction on what you need to do. Alright guys, take care and have an amazing